Good evening.
Everywhere I go on this island, it seems to me I find degeneracy.
Watch a few movies, take a few notes. See, it's a lot scarier when there's no motive, Sid.
We have a bargain.
Watch a few movies, take a few notes.
Do you feel the pain? Always fear. Pain, I can assure you, will be exquisite.
Watch a few movies, take a few notes.
His entire work consists of violence, all the time. Obsessed with the issue of violence. Mayhem, gouging out of eyes, autopsies on the stage.
Come. It is time to keep your appointment.
Good evening, all. I hope you're well. We are back for episode 141 of Double Feature Horror Show, shaking it up with the quite the eclectic mix. Last week we covered The Grasp of the Lorelei, a Spanish horror from 1975. Quite the unique, 1973. Quite the unique vision. That stream got very swiftly yeeted, kicked into the long grass, throttled by Fox and two other companies. Shocking stuff. That has been fought. We've got it back. So if you want to see that special stream, that is available back on the channel in case you couldn't get it. Hopefully we won't have this problem. Any clips I show today are even more obscure than Armando Dasario's Grasp of the Lorelei, even though it's a more mainstream film. I was asked absolutely ages ago to cover They Live by my good friend Scrump, and I'm very delighted that he was so patient to wait around for me to be free to do this. So we'll be covering that in the film half. So if you've never seen this before, we do a topic section, then we do a film section. Topic is going to be Vincent Price. We're doing a slice of Price, chapter 4. We are covering all the surprisingly relevant shenanigans that he got up to in the 50s, and then moving on to John Carpenter's films. So that is the plan. That is the plan. All right, folks, I will waste no more time. We are joined by Scrump. Hello, Scrump.
Hello there. Hello. It's good to be on. And yeah, we did. To be fair, it's been on the back burner for a little bit, but it's good. It's encouraging to me that this has finally got done, because I've got things that I've been putting off for months, and this makes me feel like I might get them done one day. So I finally got the Robot Wars thing done with Kizzer at one point, so that took like 2 years as well, and that was quite a good. I quite enjoyed that. So it's good to be here, and it was nice rewatching this film. I did enjoy it.
Yeah, the curse of the YouTube project, eh? You announce it, it'll never happen.
Yeah, post-democratization. Ha, 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 ha.
Oh, don't. Just don't work on any comic books, right? And if you know, you know. And I'm not alone. I'm joined by regular co-host TCG. How you doing, man? I don't have any lyrics up today.
I gave you a good source. I gave you a good source earlier in the week. I'm disappointed.
Oh.
I'm disappointed.
Maybe I'll get it next week. Maybe I'll go for it. I could have led in with some Puff Daddy stuff, but I don't want to give the wrong impression, you know?
Half right.
I heard him referred to as P. Diddler recently. That tickled me. I was quite delighted.
Yeah. I haven't really looked into that, to be fair, but there have been rumours swirling around for a little while about that gentleman.
DMX rapping about him. Who knows?
P. Diddler. It's pretty funny.
You love it. Good on Harry for that one. Yes, and Harry should be on next week, continuing the John Carpenter theme with Christine. But we are on YouTube. Everyone knows this, so we'll do the usual stuff. I shamelessly copy Scrump's format, so we'll get the usual YouTube stuff out the way, which is to say, of course, these channels are not widely spread for reasons I cannot possibly imagine, and therefore it requires your support. And what that basically means is interacting with the video. So the likes are great. If you're one of the people who is watching this every week and isn't subscribed, click the subscribe. That's very welcome. And of course, you can support the channel with comments. All that interaction really helps. And you can go one step further if you feel like it by supporting this channel either here or on Subscribestar with super chats or memberships. And as I've hinted, this is a very good month to join the membership, because you will get all sorts of extra content. If that appeals to you, then the links for that are in the description. That is enough of me doing the shilling.
Yes.
I'll pass it over to Mr. Scrump. Any shilling for your excellent work, sir?
I'll echo your shilling and do say, give us some shekels, you filthy animals. But you can find me over on the Scrump Monkey YouTube channel, which has kind of a legacy name to it. We do a bit more serious content than that name implies, if you've never encountered me before. But we do, I guess at the moment, sometimes weekly streams. It varies, but we do quite heavily research work. And we've also got the Substack, which is antipolitics.substack.com, where there is occasionally written work, and people thankfully support us a little bit through both. So thanks to people who do that. You're quite dedicated and, I would say, long suffering. And I'll stop shilling now myself.
You have mastered the loyal fan base, I believe. Well earned. People who've just got a taste for the black pill and can't tear themselves away.
Once you go black, you never go. Oh, no.
Oh dear. And how about yourself, TCG?
I'm still scripting at the moment where I get time. Work has been very, very busy. For example, next week, after we've done the stream next week, I'm actually going to work, so that should be fun. But yeah, no, lots of fun. I do want to quickly shout out Patrick Batman. I'll let you deal with the super chat side of it. But I was listening to Razor Fist's State of the Union address the other day because he was live streaming it, and I noticed a familiar face in the super chat shout outs. Good on you, mate.
Oh, very good. I do always find it really odd when like one of us is in another stream.
I know, right?
I mean, I love it, but it's a weird one. Like, should we need a handshake or something? You know?
We should do like a secret handshake.
Anyway, yes, as for the super chat, thank you so much, Patrick Batman, dropping £5 and saying, I'm here to kick bubblegum and chew ass, and I'm all out of ass. Well, thank you, my salad tossing friend. That is very generous of you and much appreciated. And we also, let's remember, your horror shorts recommendations were fantastic. We're still working our way through those. We'll definitely do more horror shorts ranking, so we found more good stuff. And hello, Mr. GB. Good to see you. In fact, good to see all the regulars. We're trying for an efficient stream tonight, so I will keep it short. And a quick notice: so for the stuff I did for Lotus Eaters last time, my Brokenomics chat with Dan about a wonderful dystopian fiction book called Mandibles, that is already out. But the first of the Kubrick streams is not yet out. I don't know when that's dropping. But make sure when you see it, get in there, fill it with praise, say you demand at least 4 more episodes, because frankly, my autism was really straining them. It's endless. Sorry, Harry, can we just go back to this minor contractual wrangle that Kubrick had? You know, I want us to push for about 6 episodes so I can really go in depth on that one. So when that does come out, show your appreciation. All right, that is all the shilling we will be doing. And with that, I think we'll waste no more time and get straight into the topic section. Wonderful. Talking about Mr. Vincent Price. Anyone who hasn't been here for a while, this might be surprising. This might be weird. Thought I came here for John Carpenter's They Live. Gosh darn it. All right, we're going to be quick with this one. I'm going to try and do this in 40 minutes. Vincent Price. In the 1950s, mostly. We last left him in 1949. He'd had about the worst year going. I'm giving you this image because we all love a good boy. That good boy's by the name, by the way, is Joe. It's a good boy called Joe. But yes, his parents had died. His wife had become first wife had become absolutely addicted to all sorts of benzos under the guise of them being calcium shots, and she'd even got his son hooked on him. Good times. They're divorced. It was chaotic. Even though he tried to make it work, not a good time for Vincent. That is how we left him. at the last session, but things are on the upswing. They're all on the upswing now as we move forward. I realize I need to actually get my notes in another tab, so forgive my slight awkwardness here. There we go. All sorted, all sorted. Oh, forgive me, chat. So who's this lovely woman? Oh, hey, Aidan, good to see you. John Carpenter appreciator. If you're here just for John Carpenter, you'll be a while, but you know what?
Yeah,
First, we're dealing with Miss Vincent Price.
Yeah, last time we were here for about an hour and 15 minutes.
Oh no! I was going to say, can I make a Jordan Peterson joke? Benzo's mentioned. Put it together yourselves, guys. It's an assemble your own Peterson joke. I didn't quite get there.
I mean, the alternative is who can do the best Russian accent and say, please, just 30 seconds on Vincent Price. Someone else should have done it. All right. Yep. So this lovely woman is Mary Grant. Scrump. If you earlier we talked about his first marriage was to a fellow person of the theatre who turned out to be a little bit cray, and he was very much warned off. Cray. He couldn't. Vincent could not stay away. He didn't obey the hot, crazy matrix, and it did not work out well for him. Alas, we've all been there. We
have all been there. Some more than others.
Yes, but that lovely woman, that is Mary Grant. Now, Mary came in. She wanted to be a dancer. It didn't work out, but she found her calling, applying herself to costume design, which I think good show. Much more humble, still associated with the art, but none of that jealousy about who's the bigger star, you know? Oh, Patrick Batman. Vincent thought he could change her. We've all been there, bros. We've all thought, I can fix her. Anyway, so Mary stays backstage, costume designing. She gets into fashion designing. She does very well, but she's a really stable influence on him. She's described as basically the most calming, most successful marriage, the best period in his life. And that is possibly because the main source I use is written by their daughter. So there we go. That daughter actually would come along. Do I have this next? Here she is, 1962. So a fair way off, but I thought I'd show a little Victoria Price here so we can appreciate her. Little adorable. Anyway, very cute. So adorable. So she moves in, joins him in his Benedict Canyon house. It was a South American design that was very popular at the time, so he managed to get it quite cheap. And it was a massive house. This is really good because in this massive house, he was able to fill it both with kind of an unusual living situation with a couple of just friends who stayed because they needed work. He could have the place looked after, and he knew what it was like to be a kind of struggling actor, so he let them stay. He could also absolutely fill it with art, which was the main thing. His art collection was rapidly growing, as will not surprise you if you've heard the other parts. He was particularly fond of the South American, Central American style because that was not very looked at the time, and he had just toured those regions the previous year and was kind of hot on that stuff, picking it up very cheap because it wasn't appreciated. So those are some shots of the mansion. And now the next development. Last time we talked about how to balance things out because he doesn't just want to be an actor. I know the joke is a bit obvious here. Let's restrain ourselves.
Okay. Bite in the tongue.
Careful now. So, yeah, last time we talked about how he'd set up his own gallery. That caught the attention of some rather connected individuals. Now, the little gallery that he ran with a friend may have gone down in about a year. They never made much money, but they had fun and they connected to people high up in all sorts of art worlds. But it got the attention of an eccentric and very rich man called Walter Arensberg. And he approaches Vincent and says, basically, I want you to help exhibit my enormous modern art collection. We're in LA. No one likes this stuff. What are we going to do? I want exhibitions. I know you love art. Make it happen, Vincent. So Vincent forms the Modern Institute of Art. he gets a load of his friends, sort of fellow actors, showbiz types, people who travel in the same circles as him. They become the board of trustees, and they start acquiring a loft in Beverly Hills, bring on an art historian, Kenneth Ross, to do it properly, and they start curating their first exhibition, which is Modern Artists in Transition, which I'm showing you here. I could not find much in the way on this. I wish I found more, but this too was short-lived. Vincent could not get the Modern Institute of Art off the ground because, well, as he says, he basically thought LA and Hollywood was narrow-minded. They had provincial attitudes, and their tastes were just unbearable. They were so focused on just crass commercialism. It's kind of it's kind of similar to Richard Wagner's criticism of the opera industry being sort of very limited by commercialism, limited by pastiches, in a somewhat infamous essay that people may or may not have read. But yeah, Vincent was finding it frustrating. He was doing the studio stuff. It was making money, but he wanted to do the true art and push the boat out. And even though the exhibitions were really well received, unfortunately, and they got tens of thousands of members, they could not afford to keep it going, unfortunately. So sadly, the Modern Institute of Art closed. But remember Vincent's connection with the art world. It becomes very relevant and rewarding by the end of this little section. So yes, it closes within 4 years. Alas, alas. I've also got another shot of his home being absolutely filled up with art, which I thought you might like. But really, when we talk about Vincent Price, you're expecting to hear talk of the acting. So we will talk about that acting. One of his more famous roles, The Saint, which also has a bit of a crossover. So The Saint was a radio play, Simon Templar, very long running. The main hook being that the Saint doesn't kill people, I believe, a sort of precursor to James Bond. And The Saint would end with a little message to the audience at the end of every episode. And I would like to read you the episode that went out. Oh gosh, I've got the wrong page. Got it. Right. I'm going to read you the one that went out in 1949. So he did this from 1947 to 1949. So this was the end of episode address in the case called the Colorblind Killer Case, September 1949. Ladies and gentlemen, in a prejudice-filled America, no one would be secure. In his job, his business, his church, or his home, yet racial and religious antagonisms are exploited daily by quacks and adventurers, whose followers make up the lunatic fringe of American life. Refuse to listen to or spread rumors against any race or religion. Help to stamp out prejudice in our country. Let's judge our neighbors by the character of their lives alone, and not on the basis of their religion or origin.
Cringe. Sorry.
This why do I bring that up? Why do I torment you with this?
Cringe and blue pilled. No riz.
I thought that was particularly relevant given the film we're going to discuss. And Andrew Beiser, yes, they made it political. Can I have the best sort of can anyone do a review YouTube voice? Can anyone do that? We'll skip it. We'll skip it.
A what YouTube voice? Sorry.
They made it political, like review YouTube, like Nerdrotic.
Yeah. You see, guys, they made it political.
Nifty. All together. Wait. All right. So, also
they
interesting.
Gamers. Sorry.
We just
leave
want
a comment
good writing,
below, guys.
Just want good writing. The reason I kind of say this, like, okay, joking aside about review YouTube, the whole they made it political. God, back in the day, keep it out. Like, we're not dissecting that message, but I just want to point out, like, this has always been there. This has always been there. They always made it political. Also, another interesting crossover. another saint. It's this guy. Who's this?
Ah, my arch nemesis.
It is, yeah, George Sanders. George Sanders himself. We've had a few George Sanders run-ins in this, and I just, for some reason, I feel compelled to include him. I don't know why. All right, there we go. So just have to include that. Another role. This is him as, or what's the name? This is him in Baghdad as Pasha Ali Nadim.
Brilliant.
I like to get the breadth of Vincent's performances. All right. We have a little gap before we get to the next one. I'm gonna mess with my own stuff here and skip us ahead quite a bit because I've got
whoa, go back.
No, my stuff is in the wrong order.
Oh, I see. Right, okay. I was
Right,
because I saw the fly there.
We actually have a bit of a gap.
Yeah, that's the stuff that I know.
Yeah.
Don't skip past the stuff that I know.
You know this stuff. Well, we have a bit of a gap before we get to this, right? So that one, Baghdad, that was a pre-1950 role, but there's a bit of a gap. He keeps the Simon Templar stuff going, but he has a bit of a gap in his performance, and I just thought we'd talk about why. And it's this thing here.
McCarthyism?
Yes. Oh, Murgut's got
what?
it. Yes. Hugh Atkel. Yes. The House Un-American Activities
Yeah.
Committee.
Yes. I was sorry. I was reminded when I said the Vincent Price stuff to talk about the McCarthyism stuff because yes, he was. His career was interrupted by McCarthyism, which was It's really funny because it was somebody who knew that there were communists in America because they were his friends, going on an empty witch hunt to go after people who didn't really exist to make it look like communists didn't exist in America. When the entire civil service of America was full of them. Anyway, sorry.
That's literally the second time now that I've just shouted out a random sort of guess, and it's just been absolutely spot on. Last week it was Pearl Harbor. Now it's this.
I thought you were being caught. I actually knew that one.
I just went, McCarthy, because I looked at the year and I looked at looks like a McCarthy thing.
Nailed it. Yes. Well, let's see. As ever, Scrump, you are slightly outside the paradigm. Yes, Hewitt, I'm on the level of no, McCarthy was right, McCarthy was based, and you're like, no, McCarthy's a time waster. I would love to know your sources.
It's everything's a psyop. Sorry.
Yeah, so my book, as I've said, is written by his daughter Victoria Price, who's basically a lesbian Unitarian minister. And from this, you can derive every position.
Oh dear.
We've had much fun with how she reports on Vincent's naughty beliefs after he visited Weimar.
Oh no, yeah.
Did you know he attended a very interesting speech in Nuremberg?
Yes, that's another thing that was mentioned to me as well. Yes, he was there. He was there in Nuremberg. Yes.
Yes, went over to study one Austrian painter and ended up appreciating another. Apologies, I've used that joke before, but how often do you get to?
Hitler.
Yeah, he gets blacklisted. The career is hit. It's brutal, and he's panicking. He's got a young kid. He's got alimony to pay. He's got to keep the money going. But Vincent is also a bit of a workaholic. And he's not even really blacklisted. He's grey-listed. Think of it as like a big gay shadow ban from the 1950s. They haven't
a shadow ban.
Well, they haven't said you're a dirty commie. They've just sort of approached the studios and said
shadow banned him.
They did the Tariq Nasheed. You're a suspected.
You're a
suspected commie.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
and you can't play in our films.
Yeah, the studios weren't going to work with him. Everyone was a bit scared. His daughter is very annoyed because he writes to he talks to a conservative congressman that he'd got to know because he talked to people from all over and basically said, help. And she says, here's who you can write to. So he writes up a massive statement, sends it to the relevant person in the FBI, basically outlining his political activism and perspectives, but assuring them, look, I assure you, I I love America, I love the nation of Israel, and I absolutely despise communism. And his daughter is so harsh about it, so harsh. Basically, hang on, here we go. Yeah, basically she I won't find the quote, but she kind of calls him out for condemning the enemies of America for being un-American. I mean, I know that's like kind of a boomer take. We try and not do the boomer take, but I think we can at least say that communists wouldn't have been it's not too outrageous to make that claim, you know?
Within the time period, it's very reasonable, yes.
Yeah. But also, you know, I think pretty relevant to They Live. What we've seen, if you've seen all of these, you've basically seen Vincent Price kind of follow a fairly regular opinion at the time, maybe be slightly ahead of the curve because of the circles he moved in, but he's just been punished wherever he lands. So he was punished for thinking that the clearing up Weimar was a good thing. Then he was punished in Hollywood for not getting on the anti-Franco train quick enough. And then when he got on the anti-Franco train, the FBI said, "You're suspiciously quick to go suddenly anti-Hitler. You're a bit too liberal." You know, he's being handed these scripts and told, "No, that's too liberal now." So poor Vincent, he cannot win. He's knocked around all over the place, and the regime hits him for whatever he believes. Poor bugger, frankly. Anyway, so that is accounting for some of the gap in his career. I just thought we would cover that interesting little nugget quickly. Sorry for giving away some of the surprises there. So yes, here he is, looking quite resplendent. I mean, that could catch on. That's Roland Rat's next profile picture, isn't it? Someone do the edit. Like, that is suave. Anyway. Right, but there is the gap. We've gotten over that. We're in 1953. We're doing surprisingly well on time here.
Oh my, that is an interesting image on the right there, Horrorshow.
Oh, wee. Yes, I had my choice. I try not to spoil it, because if you look at the stuff for this, they tend to give away the old money shot in horror, you know, the final reveal of the monster, and I don't really like to do that. I like to save that so you appreciate it in the moment.
Oh wait, am I right in thinking that is from House of Wax?
That is.
Yeah. Oh, weird.
Yeah. Yeah, nifty stuff. I actually watched the remake.
The remake.
Yeah, it's nothing like this. It's basically it's a lot closer to Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah. Oh, you talking
So
Jared Padalecki?
Yeah, Paris Hilton.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that film.
It's very odd. Yeah,
it's very strange. Yes, I'd forgotten I'd seen that until you mentioned it. I'm like, oh shit, I have seen that remake.
Yeah, do you know what? I had that same experience when I watched it like years after the fact. I was like, I'm sure I've seen this. And then when Jared Padalecki's getting turned into like a human, like a living wax doll like that, I'm like, yeah, I've seen this.
Yeah, it was pretty nasty as well. Like,
yeah.
I found weird. It's a weird period. Those remakes. I swear we'll do an arc on those one day once we're past the anthologies. But yeah, so this was House of Wax, 1953. We're gonna kind of get the period that really makes Vincent Price into the sort of face of horror. I'm gonna try and not sneeze in the middle of it, but we don't know how long we'll do with that. I'm fighting it. Okay. So this is he does so many in this period. I think this is why he ends up being the horror icon. And I thought we'd start here. House of Wax, 1953, a loose remake of The Mystery of the Wax Museum from the 20s. But you've got to make it exciting for people. So what do? You shoot it in 3D, guys. Don't you love 3D?
Never heard of it. What is this 3D that you speak of?
3Ds? I've heard of 2Ds, but never 3.
3D's nuts.
I think I own 1D. I think I possess 1D. I'm not sure about the other 2, though.
Well, if anyone's memory is has slipped, don't worry. Give it 8 years; it'll be back. It never goes away. They keep bringing it back. This time particularly notable. I mean, loads of them were doing this, but I just thought I'd note this because they decided to make this 3D film with a director who had one eye. Genius. So that was director Andre de Toth. How he made a classic. He made a very well received film, but just the irony I find absolutely delightful. And it's got a wonderful effect at the end. That's sort of quite big payoff in terms of the effects work. But just something I thought would be interesting here. That first poster, if you look at it, who's in it? Vincent Price, Frank Lovejoy, Phyllis Kirk, Paul Piserne. Lovely. The modern poster, Vincent Price, number one. That's right. Charles Bronson.
No way.
Now he is credited. Batman recognize it. Yes, that is Bronson credited as Charles Bukowski in the film. He did not have his name, like Steve McQueen credited as Stephen McQueen in The Blob. Yes, I thought you might appreciate that. It's just interesting how we've looked previously at the original poster where Vincent Price is like third, and then the redone one where suddenly he's the main star. It's interesting how people's stars shift over time.
I have to say, I love that artwork though for that poster.
Oh, it's lovely. It's a lovely one. And just showing not too much, but also, and then going on to other stuff, well-known stuff now. The Fly. I mean, he in fairness, he had quite a few in between these. I've skipped most of them for brevity, but there was a mix of roles. I haven't even asked Scrump. Do you like a bit of Vincent Price? Is he just sort of, how can I say, or no strong feelings either way?
I quite like Vincent Price. I'm aware of him. I'm aware of some of his films. I'm aware of some of the misfortune in his career as well. I have something of a passing knowledge of not quite a bit of this at least. So he's somebody who I see. He is part of the tapestry of cinema. If you're somebody who sees a lot of films from a lot of periods, you'll start encountering Vincent Price. And you'll start encountering kind of him in all, you're right, in these disparate roles. It's a big mix of roles. And he feels in some roles almost like a prestige actor because he's a very good actor. But in other roles, he feels like a jobbing actor. And he's had such a mixed career. I always found that very interesting because you never know who was going to pop up.
Oh, yeah. And we've seen him all over the place. He's been the love interest. He's been the swashbuckler. He's been the scoundrel. He's been the playboy. There's a bit of an overlap there. He's been the villain once or twice, but he was rarely the villain early on. Very rarely. So as you say, you meet him everywhere. People will know the voice from here and there as well.
It's very difficult to typecast the guy.
Exactly. People probably know him for the horror, but I like to think we're breaking out of that box and just showing the sheer number of weird
breaking
things.
The conditioning.
We'll show everything got out. We actually talked about The Fly. We enjoyed this one. It was, again, absolutely unlike the remake. It's a totally different movie. It was kind of fun. He did not take this one particularly seriously. He thought it was a bit silly. But I thought he was really adorable in this.
Yeah. I love this film.
Yeah. It was good fun. It was good fun. Yeah. Movie more familiar. Oh, a recommendation for The Last Man on Earth. I have not actually seen that one. And he appeared in a Scooby-Doo. I would not be surprised, but hang on. I mean, he died in the early 90s, so spoilers, by the way. I don't know. There's a decent chance he did a lot of voice work. Anyway, more stuff you probably know. If you look at Vincent Price, this is very likely the first image that Google serves you. This is your man in... Anyone want to take a guess? See if chat gets it.
While chat are guessing, yeah,
he was in the... Give chat a chance.
He was in the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo, which was released in 1985.
Vincent Van Gogh. Oh, wonderful. Oh,
Vincent,
wonderful.
Brilliant.
cool.
Well, I'll chat has got a little bit of a lag. I'm sure chat's going to come through and be victorious. If you get it, you can have your bragging rights, chat. This is House on Haunted Hill.
Ah,
Yes.
I was going to say Last House on. I don't know why. I was thinking of that film, but Last House on the Left kept creeping in.
I thought the next one was going to be Return of the Fly, but
No, he did do that. Do I? I think I do have that next. I've actually labelled this incorrectly. This should be 1958, but you guys will let me off. I don't hugely rate this one. I think it's quite silly, even though it does have. It's got a decent jump scare, but I wouldn't say it. I mean, a lot of these aren't really scary. They're just kind of good fun. John Goris has nailed it. There you go. It's good fun. It's not aiming to terrify you or mess you up. And Vincent is absolutely hamming it up no end. It's glorious. But it's notable not just for having a quite, making the most iconic image of him, but it's also his first collaboration with an interesting chap by the name of William Castle. House of Wax, the remake, I believe, was done by the production house Dark Castle. And the idea behind that studio was that they would remake the William Castle movies for a new millennial generation. And that's where they get the name from. But yeah, William Castle, he was a gimmick guy, right? He was a hustler and a real good seller. So he would do things where he made you sign an insurance policy before you could go into the cinema in case you died of fear.
yeah, I've heard that. Yes. That was him. Okay,
That's him.
I remember that anecdote. Yes,
Yeah,
all
he
comes
is
together now.
Yeah, we have trained nurses who happen to be wearing very short uniforms at every performance, just in case, guys.
I wish I was alive during the 50s. Oh, man.
The 50s.
Yeah.
It's all cigarettes and arse pinches.
Oh, good times. Emergo here was that was a gimmick with House on Haunted Hill. Emergo was basically a glow in the dark skeleton on a line that the cinema staff would reel in, so it flew out from behind the screen and then over the audience at a key moment.
Wait, they had a skeleton that worked for the FBI. That's interesting.
Just run them down with your van, you're safe. Oh dear. What else we got? I think. Oh, there's your man. Think of William Castle like a cheesy Alfred Hitchcock. Oh, we talked about this one before. This is my favorite, The Tingler. He strapped massive engines under certain chairs to make them vibrate. You'd feel the tingling when the monster was near. This was really popular with housewives. So who says women don't enjoy horror?
Oh, for God's sake.
Oh, the Tingler.
So hang on a minute, right? So Vincent Price basically invented the Terrifiers marketing strategy.
The Terrifiers? What's that?
Well, yeah. Oh, go to the. People can't last the film because they keep throwing up and passing out because it's so scary. Oh, right, okay, whatever.
Classic.
And he also invented 4DX basically.
Yeah, because that's what that is. It's just like a really kind of slightly poor, like I guess vibration unit in them. Because have you ever been in one of those where they've got like the slight seat vibration?
That's
and it's
it,
just
yeah.
crap. It's just not very good.
I took my kids to see Big Hero. Is it Big Hero 6?
Mm-hmm.
In 4DX, and my boy was like, "I'm not doing this," and he ended up sitting and watching the film in the aisle. I was like, "Cheers, mate." Cheers.
Kudos. Jay Weatherford, The Blind Maid was terrifying. Yeah, The Blind Maid is one of the genuinely good scares in that film. Lovely stuff. So there's William Castle. When I was looking for him, I did get to the absolute worst photo of the poor guy, and I feel bad even including it, but I saw it, so you should too.
Oh God, hang on a minute. He looks
straight to the BBC with you, sir.
Oh no! Oh no!
No impressions. Just move on. Americans, if that's confusing, do not worry. John Goris did Dark Castle get around to the Tingler? I do not believe they did. Sadly, they went wildly off script after I think 13 Ghosts. which I did not enjoy, but apparently I'm wrong. Lots of people really love that movie. Who
I didn't
knew?
like that. That wasn't that good.
Oh, thank you. I get lonely. I get lonely not liking that. Although Matthew Lillard, always a treat.
Well, anyway.
Anyway, there's your boy Return of the Fly. You love it. You love to see it. All right, good. And where are we? I think that's is that the Tingler as well? Or the Bat? Oh, I've got confused. It's one of them. That's the Tingler, I think. Because it was a centipede-like creature. There you go. He's leaning into the villain a little more though in this. They're starting to like him as a villain. And he likes playing a villain. And there you go, the Bat.
Batman.
Again.
Oh, the Bat.
No. It's not Batman, it's the Bat, you uncultured swine.
We're doing well. I said 40 minutes. I've got 9 minutes to spare. We're so going to get this. All right. I've saved this one to last. Now, this, by the way, you may have noticed all these 4 movies came out in 1959.
I thought that one as well.
Oh, dear. So,
yeah.
Return of the Fly,
that one came out much
1959. The Tingler, 1959. The Bat, The Big Circus, all 1959. Vincent's a good boy. But look at this. On the Big Circus, Big Circus, 5th place. 5th place.
Yeah.
Whereas Horror, he's number 1. You start to think, okay, maybe it's not just that he likes the roles. Maybe it's like Horror is the one where he is really getting to be the star, the big name. Maybe that is another factor that leads him towards really focusing on Horror. Anyway, I include that. There was an earlier film that I massively skipped over, and I hope you'll forgive me for that. And it's this one, Champagne for Caesar. I don't know if anyone was waiting for me to talk about this.
Oh, I couldn't wait for you to talk about it.
I know. Now, I thought I'd skip over it. I know you guys know this. We all know Champagne for Caesar. But in case anyone does not know 1950s Champagne for Caesar, which was one of Vincent's own favourite roles. He enjoyed it. He liked doing a comedy. This is about a quiz show. It's a gay romp, a quiz show where people are cheating, and they're cheating partially with the help of this wonderful parrot called Caesar, voiced by Mel Blanc.
God, I remember this. I remember this just as a curiosity with the talking parrot. Yeah,
I confess I have not seen it, but Vincent enjoyed doing it. It's kind of adorable, but I've left it to last because it's a little interesting that he makes this film about cheating in a quiz show, a rigged quiz show, and then a mere was it? Do I have another one? A mere 9 years later, he's caught up in a scandal involving cheating in a quiz show. Dun, dun, dun.
Ooh.
He was foreshadowing it.
Art imitates life.
He was tipping us off. You've got to follow the Vincent Price, the VP drops. Then you'll know. You'll be ahead of the game. I couldn't resist it. It's a weird crossover. So what was happening in this one? It's a scandal. He'd been hauled in front of one committee over his activities, the poor bugger, and then he finishes the 50s being hauled over the coals again over the investigation into a rigged quiz show. Now, the main one they were investigating was a show called 21, but the $64,000 challenge, and I believe it also changed its name to $64,000 question, was also investigated. And it seems, that there's some shenanigans going on. Now, Vincent was called on to be an expert on art. He was getting involved in TV when it wasn't super cool to do so. I think partially because he was experimental, partially because he was workaholic. But he was called on. The idea was the celebs would be quizzed about something that was not their line of work. So for Vincent and his fellow actor, Edward G. Robinson, They were being quizzed on their knowledge of art history.
Okay.
See, all that foreshadowing we did, all that setup. And Vincent was incredibly good at this. However, doesn't mean they weren't dirty, rotten cheaters. Vincent recounts how he didn't think he'd done anything wrong, but he was called into the producer's office before the first show and asked a series of questions. And he thought, okay, this is just testing. Do I actually know my stuff? He got them all right, no problem. And then he goes on the first show and finds out that they are the exact questions that he was then asked.
Okay.
And next time, the same thing happens. Goes into the producer's office, and when he gets one wrong, the producer doesn't say, no, it's this. He just says, might want to rethink that one.
Right, okay.
He's getting the nudge. Now, I don't know if you guys think that's cheating, because the kind of questions he's being asked, like, you do have to have the knowledge. There wasn't internet. He couldn't go back and Google it. You know, he would have to have huge research books with him in order to get the answers. But on the other hand, I mean, if he had asked the producer, could you give me the answers? The producer, I think, probably would have.
I don't know.
I think Vincent comes out okay in this one.
Yeah, I mean, it's not as if, like you say, okay, it's weird that they're asking the same questions again. But
there's a theory. If you want to read 3 or 4 pages on it in the biography from his daughter, she advances a theory that she thinks he threw it in the final, because he did really well in this, because he really knew his stuff.
Right.
I think the question that he lost in the finale that meant he split it with his friend, split the prize with his friend, was over artists who had painted the Sistine Chapel.
Right.
And he missed out the name of someone who had done later reversion work, drawing fig leaves on people when the nudity was deemed too much.
Right.
So he forgot that one artist out of 9.
Gotcha.
So he knew his stuff. I don't know. The theory is that he threw it so that his friend and he would split it. But I just thought it was an interesting one.
So that was the issue then, that he threw it, allegedly?
No. He threw. The idea is he threw it out of a sense of fairness.
Yeah.
But the real scandal is, were the quizzes rigged? Absolutely, they were rigged. But Vincent seems to come out okay from it. And ultimately, you know, it is kind of entertainment, really. Anyway, and that gets us to the end of Vincent in the 1950s. Look at that! I finished a minute early.
You did it.
What a turbulent time.
Yeah.
What a time to be alive.
I mean, I left out a fair few things. You don't need to hear about the house almost burning down in a heat wave that had set all kinds of fun. We don't need that. We don't need that. The book is full of a lot of that extraneous stuff. But I just saw these crossovers and I thought we've got to cover them. But the next time we'll come back, we'll start maybe the next major stage of his life, which is when he starts working with one Roger Corman at American International Pictures. But that's in the 60s, and that's for the next time. So, that was your topic section. Thank you. The 34, 33 people are in here on a They Live stream listening to me talk about Vincent Price for 40 minutes. Good times.
Thanks, guys.
I hope you enjoyed that, Scrump.
I like Vincent Price. I'm quite I don't want to say buff, but I know quite a lot about film history, incidentally, just to kind of absorbing it, because I do love film. So it is something I am vaguely interested in. So that was fine for me. I quite enjoyed that.
Oh, I'm chuffed. Yeah, he's an interesting way to look at the development of things, you know, because we got the grey listing, we got the studio contract system, all that good stuff.
It's a good slice of life.
Exactly. Well, we call it a slice of price. Huh? Yeah. Oh, before we get on to They Live, a perfect time to thank Joe Weatherford for dropping $5. Thank you so much. Nothing to add. Always enjoy the content. Please watch The Last Man on Earth. I will be happy to. I'll be happy to. I think when we get to the end of the Vincent Price life series, well, the one I was asked to, a member asked me to cover The Mask of the Red Death, which I will be very happy to do. But I think we could maybe have a couple of bonus Vincent Price streams. They're just so cozy, you know? They're really cozy. So I'll be happy to. Thank you again for $5. Very much appreciated, Joe Weatherford. And with that, let's start talking They Live. Scrump, you requested this film. Would you like to... how about a start off then? Why They Live?
Well, the big question in They Live is who they are.
Oh, no.
No, because it is quite an ambiguous topic. There is some exposition dump about it, but it's a film that's actually, if you've never seen it before, has a relatively slow burn. I'd imagine if you turned it on and watched it on TV without having seen it before, it would have a few twists and turns, but it'd also be very confused. I know you said it was better for you on the rewatch, and it was. I've seen this film 4 or 5 times, I think, at this point. I used to see it on TV a couple of times, and I've rewatched it just because it's interesting. It's such a mishmash of ideas in terms of its supposed political leanings. Because what I feel like, yeah, because to start off with a little bit of a fact sheet, this is a John Carpenter movie. It's famous for having Rowdy Roddy Piper in it as one of his only kind of leading roles in a film. It's quite unusual. Because of both of those factors, both because Carpenter obviously doesn't make normal films very often. They're never the highest budget, and it's kind of a mix because the effects are very good, but some of the filming work is obviously done very, very cheaply because of how he shoots things. So it's got this real kind of flavorful. Oh, I'm knocking my mic there. A flavorful mix of kind of John Carpenterisms and slight weirdness. And that late 80s getting into the early 90s kind of flavor of not quite conspiracy, but things aren't quite right. And for those of you who haven't seen They Live, there will be spoilers. If you want me to do like a quick version of how kind of the plot progresses, I won't go into too many specifics here, but really it's about a man who's a drifter, which is Rowdy Roddy Piper. And it doesn't really matter what the characters' names are, to be honest. There's kind of broad archetypes. He's the drifter, almost like the drifter with a heart of gold, as an American hero inside. In the beginning, he believes in America. There's the black homeless guy who kind of takes him under his wing a bit after he arrives in LA and ends up working on a construction site. It's very kind of post-racial society in that way, because it's really trying not to get itself in trouble. I think when this film was made, Carpenter understood, and whoever wrote it understood, that it really has to be a political mess in terms of like political denomination, or else this does just look like it's saying what people might think it might be saying in certain ways.
Scrump, how did he know about the tunnels?
He didn't.
Oh, God. Jesus Christ.
The teleporter. It's
no.
You know what? They don't draw too much attention to it, and you DM me about that, but kind of before a couple of days ago. But you're right; it is actually a really good plot experience. We're kind of jumping around here.
Oh yeah.
But the basically the plot here is that he's in this, basically it's a Hooverville. I've thought of that. He's living in a Hooverville because America isn't working. There's joblessness, there's job crisis, there's a vague economic crisis going on, which has got people antsy. And there's all these TV transmissions going out that are basically, the revolution, they live, you sleep. And it's all kind of like, it's almost Q-esque as well. This film just ages like fine wine as kind of like the conspiracy sphere expands more and more into the population. I'm
so glad you said that, because I was getting the screen caps and I couldn't help but think, like, is this us? Like your regularly scheduled mainstream programming is interrupted by some beardy guy in a basement telling you the truth. I was like, that's us. That's me on the couch watching that. I subscribe to that guy.
I thought you were going to say you're the beardy guy in the basement.
I try and do my bit,
I'm not. How dare you? I'm not in a basement, and Evelyn's here too.
But it's so true. The guy looks like a your classic. I don't know. Oh, I forget their names now. Bloody hell.
Or like YouTube atheist. Like
Basically, yeah, he looks a bit like that, and I just thought, oh my gosh, they called it.
He-
They called it.
He does look like old, like Thunderfoot or TJ a little bit.
Yeah.
He does have the
That's
whiff of the slightly kooky professor as well, kind of thing. The liberal, the overly liberal professor. It does come across because people are just like, oh, turn it off. It's all shit. But I like that the film has this like vague sense of doom about all of it. LA feels real unfriendly, and everyone feels real tense. I quite enjoy this film as a bit of a mood piece as well. Yes, because really it kicks off when he kind of stumbles into the church where these weird broadcasts are being made, and he finds all this incongruous stuff. There's a tape recorder with the choir. They've got these boxes there for the stuff, and he's just like, I didn't see nothing, man. And then the night after, the police come and clear his homeless encampment and use it as a pretext. It's a psyop, basically. They clear the homeless encampment as a cover-up to basically raid this church that's broadcasting the revolution. And I love how broad strokes it is. It's so broad strokes about what's going on. It's almost like it feels like a graphic novel, you know what I mean?
Sorry, I was muted while I was typing. Yeah, you're right. I think broad strokes is a really good way to describe it, both in terms of the message it makes and I suppose in a way some of the storytelling as well. There is nice setup and payoff here, but it also is largely in a way of them really brazenly just kind of telling you, yeah, we're skipping this bit, and now we're at the finale, and it's really quite efficient. I quite like it.
It's got a bit of a slow burn at first. It almost feels like a disaster movie because you're waiting kind of for something to happen. But once it does get into, spoiler alert, all this stuff happens. There's a big series of events, and he finds a box full of these sunglasses because that's what there's all this mystery. Ooh, what's the church got? It's like his box of sunglasses. Like, what the fuck? He's really confused. And I actually think that Roddy Piper acquits himself rather well in this film. He's actually quite good for it, despite his probably very limited acting range as a wrestler. Because those of you who don't know, he was in WWE, wasn't he?
He was. In fact, he main evented the first ever WrestleMania with Hulk
Yes,
Hogan.
he did.
He tag teamed with Paul Orndorff against Hulk Hogan versus Mr. T.
Was he mostly a face or a heel?
He was very much a heel.
Oh yeah,
there is a brilliant bit at the very start of that match, right? Mr. T and Roddy. Because I used to have there was a video I had. It was the first 5 main event WrestleMania, whatever. And there's a great bit where Roddy Piper goes right up to the center of the ring with Mr. T, and they're literally like nose to nose in each other's faces. And then Mr. T just slaps him in the face, and like he doesn't really sell it, and he just whacks him back in. He slaps him back. Mr. T slaps him back, and then he just sort of cheap shot, like a toe kicks him in the stomach, and then like starts going to work on him. It's honestly brilliant. He was a great heel, bless him.
I'm so surprised. After this, I just read him as a face.
No.
Huh.
He kind of turned face a bit later on in his career, but very much in the early days, yeah, he was despised. Mergut showing his age. He watched WrestleMania 1 on pay-per-view.
Oh, bless. I mean, about his acting ability, I think you could say. I don't know, you could say he's kind of wooden, you could say that he underreacts, but I like it. Like Keith David is there to give you all the acting chops. Keith David is there to bring the vibes. I think Roddy Piper just he really sells it as this kind of beaten down guy. I like him. When he's in this scene trying to get the work, he's a guy who doesn't have a lot of energy for wasting his time, and you just see him keeping his head down, and the underreacting kind of works because I think it's kind of more of a subtle performance.
It makes him seem extremely world weary, and it adds to the plot because he's a very world weary person. That like you can't get around the fact that They Live is known as basically almost like the wake up sheeple film. Most of you will know it from the glasses scene where he first puts the glasses on. He sees the billboards; they all say obey and have children, and You know, I love how banal a lot of the things they're being told to do is. It's as much as they could imagine of this repressive alien society. And yeah, he starts saying aliens as well. Like some people are just like weird, freakish aliens, and there's messages everywhere. And a lot of people, me included, because I know it's an anachronism to project it backwards. But if you project today's stuff backwards on that film, especially some of the more intensive bits that are a bit ambiguous and a very kind of friend enemy towards the aliens, it's quite funny. Yes, there's this scene where that woman, they've all got these communicator watches on, and she's got, I've got one who can see, and that's like a schizo moment. It's like, oh my god, I have schizophrenia. I've got one who can see.
If only Carpenter had made them glow.
Oh my god, they're like ghouls. They do look like Fallout ghouls, definitely. But I just the way they did it though, of him walking around with the glasses and seeing them and not knowing quite what to do about it. Really, he kind of wanders around for a bit. Go, well, I can see all these freaky people, but what the hell do I do? And then that whole thing of them basically turning against him and turning like aggressive towards him was great. That's almost like a sense of like panic that happens in that scene. Some of this film, again, it's a bit of a mix. Some scenes don't really work as well; they're a bit flat. But that one really does have that kind of Carpenter magic to it, where you're just like, oh, this is really working.
Oh, absolutely. There's the story it was based on, which is by Ray Nelson, is called 8 o'clock in the morning, and in that as well, that's like a 10-minute story. By the way, you listen, find all sorts of readings of it, and in both of them, once they made the discovery, they kind of both get down to business of just killing them straight away, not messing around at all. I found that really interesting. He just goes straight to shooting them.
Yeah, the thing I was about to say that is the thing is, if you take certain analogies about this, he just starts wasting people, and there's some scenes where it's just like the scene where he lets the policeman go, and there is like an air of no more brother wars about it.
Yeah.
And it's a very ambiguous tone in this film, and that's what makes it so entertaining. Is there's some overt lip service to being blue-pilled in the beginning and liberal society and our values and democracy and blah blah blah. But he gets to the midpoint of the film and he's just like, right, I've got these magic glasses. They make me see them, and I'm going to start. But he just walks in the bank and starts executing people.
Why did he think they would be in the bank, Scrump? What did he mean by this?
Yeah, because nobody else can see these people. So from other people's point of view, this man in these sunglasses is going around just murdering people because he's saying that they're aliens. But
oh yeah, I mean, but they know he can see through it, and once they realize it, you'll be astonished how they recoil, how injured they are, how they suddenly shrink back as if to say, I've been found out.
There's a big air of that, and the whole plot of the film really revolves from that point on about him finding out where like the mind control rays that give people headaches. That's very vaguely explained. That's literally how they explain it. There's mind control rays being broadcast on the television that give people headaches and make them not see the aliens, make them see them as real people, which is really funny because it's an analogy for media propaganda. They're literally brainwashing them with waves in the air, but it's really about TV propaganda to stop you seeing a class of people who live among you but aren't other and who conspire together to rule you against your will.
Before we go further, that's a really good time to just mention Creeper Weirdo. Honest question. Giving $10. Thank you so much. Much appreciated. Also, we're talking about seeing friends and other chats. I was like, I see you in our McIntyre's chat. And it's like, nice. We're out there. We exist.
We exist.
So, honest question, is they live hyper-political or not at all political? This is such a good question. This is such... this is kind of like begging for the politics of they live. And goodness, I am tempted to make it. The sympathetic view of the dissident leaves it way open. Also, Carpenter is a hippie. That's its intent. And Piper is based, though. We will be exploring this en masse. I think it's... I think the politics are kind of a mess, but a fascinating mess. They sort of try and set you on a path and then reel you in, and at the same time, like, it's condemning propaganda, but it's really its own propaganda. Gosh, you've kind of unlocked a can of worms here. I have a script that's getting far too long that's in the works about basically review YouTube and the I just want good writing guys kind of vibe. They made it political. I just want it back when it was good movies. And it's basically, the gist is the propaganda is always there. It's been back throughout time, etc., etc. And I've tried to approach this, but this, in terms of like, this is a movie about the aliens' evil propaganda. But, you know, if we look at where have I got it? The fact that you have a, black guy, white guy getting along together, that is a kind of classic propaganda of the era.
They fight as like a multiracial kind of church organization. It's really funny because there's this group of people. The group of people when they get together. Yeah. When they get together, the group of people, they're basically like, this isn't right, guys. We know. It's very much like a group of people who know, and there's people there, and that the woman he basically kidnaps. Can I just say the kidnap scene in that film is unreasonably horny. She spends the entire time like asking for it, and it's really funny. I'm sorry, but she's
the women in the car park are free. You can just take
the
them.
quickest case of Stockholm syndrome recorded.
She is. Yeah, she's giving him the goo eye. She's shifting on the couch. Jesus, woman.
Yeah, we'll get into that, but just to round up, the film does not consider that this is a political message. Again, this is not calling that bad. This is not saying, "Oh no, you know what this channel is and is not saying." No hate, genuinely, but this is the kind of thing that John Carpenter puts in and thinks is just neutral. So anyway, but yes, back to that woman, because I did want to. I've got her right here. Yeah. I found her a really, really weird element of the film.
Yeah, she is. It's weird. It almost goes into like the weird fan fiction element, which is just like, oh, if you're based, women will like you. She's like, no, she becomes like a noticing groupie. I'm sorry, but she does.
I regret to inform you that women do love serial killers as much as mass murderers.
It's true. Yeah. Oh dear. I found her odd in that scene. I found her acting odd. But she flows with the tide, doesn't she? She's never all the way there, and the way she offs Keith David at the end is absolutely brutal. I thought that in the section where the film is like, we are wrapping up, and we are wrapping up ASAP. I thought they did kind of do Keith David quite dirty when she just sort of kills him off screen.
Yeah, they did do. I think they didn't quite know what to do with him after a certain point in the film, though.
Oh, definitely not.
And to be fair, it did need to get to that crescendo, and I think him like. The hail of bullets scene is great though, where they just raid the headquarters and like everybody just fucking dies. It really works, and then the teleporter happens because they get cornered, and it is quite plot experience. Then there's a chase to the roof, and they have to turn off the media rays that stop people seeing the aliens. So it's really quite a simple plot. Like I said, it's Drifter notices and tries to turn off the noticing, the anti-noticing machine. That is actually the plot of They Live.
I love that.
But Scrump, why didn't he vote?
Because he had a shotgun, and they had bad physiognomy. That's what he's doing. That was the joke I made. It's just like, physiognomy check failed.
Is it formaldehyde face or something?
Yeah. Formaldehyde face.
If we're doing the politics of They Live, I just think it's very noticeable that there is no attempt to vote. It is you shooting better than voting, and it's not challenged at all. And I kind of
No,
love
the thing
that.
is, he is unironically like the hero of this film. He's just running around. Like, we don't know really that this alien race is actually like completely evil yet. Like, okay, fair
Yeah,
enough.
he's
there's,
just
like, weird.
completely jumped the gun, isn't he?
Yeah, he's just like, well, what's going on? Like, maybe he just sees them and he's just like, fuck these guys. I'm gonna. Ugh, you look terrible.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, why? Well, why have you treated them like they're your enemy? Well, they look like them.
Yeah. You're telling people to reproduce and marry? Damn you, right. Click, clack.
It's just like generic
I'm
like
gonna-
conformity
Yeah.
messaging, though. It's almost like meta-political, as in this is not, it's not quite a satire, but it really tries to just be like, it's politics as a crayon drawing. It's politics as background scenery. It's politics with none of the flavor in it. It's quite interesting how that was diffused that way. It's like politics in like West Side Story. It's almost like, clicking musical. It's very light, generic universe politics, which is a very, like you said, it's a very strange element to combine with such a visceral kind of friend enemy kind of message about them in They Live.
Literally, I know it. Like I say, the politics are kind of a mess, and I mean, like, even should we even question that messaging? What's Carpenter really kicking off about here? The messaging itself, I don't know, man. I find it. Let's get that up here. It's that messaging never changes, right?
Yeah.
Stay asleep, obey, consume, obey. Like, this is what I was talking about backstage. I don't know whether it was kind of a commentary on some of the stuff that the US government were doing before. I watched, I said to the guys, on stage chat, I watched Armored Skeptic's latest video because he was talking about Operation Mockingbird, I think it was, and like literally 3 minutes into it, he talks about the American anthem, which was played at the end of like TV broadcasts, and how they had subliminal messaging coded into the text as it was transitioning from one verse to another, and like literally. Some of the things that they sort of snuck in there were words like obey, consume, like repeated, like trust your government, God is good, or so, just like really sort of like random sort of inserted bits as it was trying. I think it took them like 20 years to figure that out, if I remember correctly from the video. But yeah, I think.
Sorry, man. I was going to say I would not be surprised from some of the stuff we know they did. And I know this sounds like tinfoil, but no, they literally do stuff. But as well as that, they also do stuff like I read out in the Vincent Price section. They also just have your fun spy caper end with basically a government mandated message. Or just think of the Alfred Hitchcock Presents episodes, where they had basically made Alfred finish the episode with, of course, the police got involved afterwards and sorted everything out because vigilantism is not good. But you know that.
That's it, yeah.
And it was very obvious that he was having to obey a code. I mean, we can argue about the code, whether we like the code, whether we don't like the code, but there is always a code.
Because it's 1988 with They Live, and nobody really cares about like the Saturday morning special, the after school special, version of events, and it wraps up quite neatly. Basically, spoiler alert: he dies, but he does turn off the anti-noticing machine, and everybody notices. And then the film ends, and you mentioned something to me that I hadn't thought of actually, to my eternal shame, because it's something I would say. But you're like, well. It kind of implies that the revolution happens, but like, does it? Does this society just return to type and the aliens get kicked out? Because there's also all these like human betrayers in it as well. There's like the toady people. There's one of the other, like the guy that made it good from the camp.
Where is he? I've got him here.
Yes, the alien toady. The eternal character actor, as you pointed out, he must have been in TNG, right? Was he ever in Star Trek: The Next Generation?
I will check for you. I can confirm that he was in Ilsa, She-Wolf of the SS, and its lesser-known sequel, Ilsa, Harem Keeper of the Oil Sheiks.
Oh, when I saw this guy, I got massive Ted DiBiase vibes.
$1 Million Man.
Yeah,
I know that reference. Right, here we go. Television. There's no way he hasn't.
He's got to have. If he wasn't
Power
in TNG,
Rangers. Power Rangers Lightspeed Rescue. He's playing a homeless man again. This guy has kind of, by the name, he's a
bum. He's a typecast bum.
George Buckflower. I do not have him in TNG.
Wow, he must be one of the only like character actors like that wasn't in TNG.
Well, hang on, the other guy, Peter Jason, is our other big character actor in this. I'll find you him in that. I guarantee you.
Somebody in They Live must have also been in TNG. If there's no crossover there, I'll be very weird. That'll be the weirdest thing. You think there would be 988? There's got to be.
No, come on. I haven't got him in any of the Star Treks. All right, chat. I've got a challenge for you. Get us an actor in this who is also in Star Trek TNG.
Yes.
Aiden, I've tried Voyager. I've tried DS9. I've had no luck. Gosh. No, I haven't got it. So chat, find us the one who's been in Star Trek. It has to happen.
I can finally, with the They Live thing, I can finally say if we do have a Star Trek actor, it's like they're appearing in Star Trek TND. But
gosh darn it! Oh no!
Oh no! Anyway, moving swiftly on. It does have, like you said, this slight. I like the end of the film. Basically, when they turn off the anti-nucleusing rays and everyone notices and goes, "Oh my god, they've been here all the time. How come I didn't notice?"
There's a woman who's sort of in the obligatory topless shot.
Yes, in the throes of passion.
The very, very end.
She notices.
Maybe
she's into it.
What's wrong, baby?
Yeah. That's like the last line in the film. It's great. I like that. It almost ends like Little Shop of Horrors, in like the opposite way. In Little Shop of Horrors ends with like a montage of them losing and the plants eating like the proper version does. Spoiler alert, by the way. I'm sure most people who want to know the ending of Little Shop of Horrors know the ending of it. That's a very small circle. No one's sat there going, "Oh, I was going to watch that tomorrow." But it is like a montage. Was in
DS9, if that helps. Jess Franco has helped us out. So is Aurelian Pepe. Meg Foster was in DS9.
Okay. We're gonna go.
Eadwulf. Do you know the person? Oh, Eadwulf has come in with the gold. So the actor is Robert Axelrod.
What a name!
Okay, I know that episode.
Hang on. I've been meaning to do a rewatch for a long time. A long time, right? So Robert Axelrod is who I'm looking for. Hang on. Gosh darn it, who was he in this? I have to know. I have to know everyone. Gosh darn it, who was
my god.
I know we are just sort of red letter media posting at the moment.
Star Trek The Next Generation is the best TV show in the world.
No, I have to. I'm live Googling to find out. I need to know.
We're gonna fill some air here. Anyway, there's quite a long, slightly infamous scene referred to as the wrestling scene, but it's just I refer to it now as the chicken fight because Jess pointed out there's like a chicken fight in the middle of the film with Roddy Piper and what's the actor's name again? I've completely lost my head. The John Carpenter character actor guy who does all the heavy lifting. My brain has gone blank. The black guy, guy in the movie. Keith David. God damn it.
Keith David. Keith David.
I couldn't
the thing.
Yeah, I couldn't remember for a second. I had like a brain block. That was awful. It's like when you can't remember a really obvious word. But no, Keith David and him have a really, really extended fight. And a lot of people say that's really rough. But having rewatched it, it's not. It's almost like Jackie Chan fight.
It's great.
It's like a Hong Kong like comedy fight is too long fight. Because it restarts like 3 times like a chicken fight does. It's a
Yeah.
proper chicken fight in the middle of this film, but it actually does work. He beat the piss out of each other. They have to go to that diner with like lumps all over the face. It's really funny.
Yeah.
I love it. Oh, just quickly, Creeper Weirdo, thank you again for $5. The end is the best part. It gives you something to talk about. Oh, trust me, we will. I think we'll return to the end. I think we'll return, but
This is the end.
we'll discuss the fight. In fact, we're gonna interrupt the stream for an extended fight discussion. I think it's the only way to do this, right? Let's try and make this go on about 5 minutes longer than we expect. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
No, it's on the it's similar to the beginning. Like I thought on the first watch, gosh, it takes forever to get going. But on the rewatch, no. It went by really nicely. And this on the rewatch, I was just into it. I was noticing cute details.
Yes.
Like it's really nice when they pick up the weapons and then they're like, oh, hang on, whoa, that's too far. I don't want to actually like damage you. And they chuck the pipe and the glass bottle down, and I really like that.
Murgut is beating me to it. I mean, the way that it was choreographed, Piper clearly had an influence in it, and it did have very much a vibe of kind of like a WWF match. There was that sort of back and forth, the old weapons. Roddy bringing out some of the old moves, some of the backdrops. I thought I loved it. I loved it.
I thought it was great.
I loved it though. I thought, give me some more. I don't care if it lasted 20 minutes. I was entertained. It was brilliant. I just loved it. Yeah. I do. Sorry to interrupt. I loved it when he smashed the back of the geezer's car with the 2x4, and he's sort of like, oh, sorry, and it's sort of almost. You think it's going to sort of end like them. Oh, never mind. And then he smashes the glass bottle, and then that completely like smashes. He's like, oh, come on. And then,
it's a great back and forth. It does have a great pace to it, and there are like comedy moments in it. It is definitely like a slapstick fight, right? It is like a WWE fight, but it knows what it is. You know what it is. It's a goofy film with like it very much is John Carpenter once again reaching back to like Invasion of the Body Snatchers. It's the original version. It's him reaching back because it all goes black and white with the glasses on, which I think is a great stylistic choice. And it really does hark back to those very old 50s kind of B movie. They Are Among Us, because there's also that McCarthyism, as we talked about with Vincent Price. There's that McCarthyism era kind of stuff to it as well, a little bit. There's a little bit of the, ooh, they are among us. It's kind of played up and it's amped up and it's quite cartoonish. It doesn't play on the, ooh, are they really evil? Because they really play it so straight. They play it so, yes, they definitely are like the most evil beings. We have to destroy them. Which a film that was trying to be cleverer, I think, would have messed that up and really muddled the film. This film has so many elements to it. It doesn't need the moral ambiguity.
No, I mean, that's a bit that I think we don't talk about enough. That's a really lovely catch about it is deliberately referencing the 1950s. I mean, the really good standout bit for that is I think the little flying saucer observation pods, which look so deliberately kind of janky.
I
they
would
are
have
delicious.
I would have loved, right, if he took the sunglasses off and it was a pigeon.
Birds aren't real.
Exactly. I need the pigeon edit. Yep. Someone make the pigeon
Somebody
edit,
make the pigeon edit.
Release the pigeon cut. No, it's great. He is leaning back on that, definitely. It adds to the slight confusion of it, but I do appreciate in the sort of leanness of it. Once it gets going, it is a pretty simple morality in this. It's not trying to do the, how can I say, a kind of, Alan Moore would splash a bit of utilitarianism over it, but aren't you all doing better under alien rule? Etc.
There's the people who are trying to persuade him, but then they're deliberately not. They're like slimy and not persuasive. It's really obvious that they've sold out humanity, and they're just the toadies of basically the invading race. It's those moments again. There's there's these very slight overtones in them, and you just like, I can see why they had to hedge their bets in the beginning, because this, again, it does kind of pull you all over the place in terms of, especially with how this is aged. I know there's a little bit of global warming stuff in there, but I think that was just flavor, because in 1988 that was just one of a soup of theories, you know, solar flares and great floods, tidal waves. And in the 80s, people didn't know what was going to end the world. They had a million different ideas. So I think that's just there for flavor. Because again, that's kind of us anachronistically projecting our current time period on that film. Because that mentioning that was not political in the 80s, which is something quite strange to think about.
That's what throws me off and confused me, though, because I heard it pitched in climate change. It pitched, which, you know, in the language of this film is that's to make the planet suitable for the aliens. They like a warmer climate. He also throws in explicitly, he says, racial justice. And I'm like, oh, so if that's unintended, it's like, what? Wow. In the anti-propaganda film, obviously we are in favor of fighting climate change, and we really support racial justice on this channel, obviously YouTube. But it's just interesting that the anti-propaganda film then throws those in, which have been picked up.
It has to be counterbalanced. I think they're going for like the tree hugging peace to the world. In the 80s, that was like incredibly safe because it hadn't been as politicized. They were living basically in 88, which is kind of it's the start of the crest of the Fresh Prince. 88 basically is already living in Fresh Prince. America is portrayed here basically as a post-racial society that is being oppressed by, you know, aliens, who is the surrogate outgroup in this scenario. And that's kind of again, it's a film very much of its time. It's a film that could only really have been made in 1988, looking back to 1958, in all those ways. And the film in 1958 will be looking back to like 1929, and it'd be a Great Depression film because it does. I swear, John Carpenter must have seen like a film in the 50s set in the Great Depression and thought, yes. But I'm not quite sure how the writing of this took place. I've not really researched how this was made, so I don't know if this is kind of John Carpenter's own creation or if this was a script that bummed around for a while.
Oh, it is. It is. So I can help you out a little bit with that. So as I said, the story was based on, well, a mix of things, but the main one, the really obvious one, is Ray Nelson's 8 o'clock in the morning. Again, it's about a 10-minute listen. You can find it. It's quite fun. Very down to business. They're actually reptilian in that story.
Oh no, the reptoids.
Oh no,
David
Icke has entered the chat. So there's that. But there was kind of because it was a oh bloody hell, mishmash of sources, and Carpenter's basically thought, rather than saying it was a direct adaptation of all of them, he credits Ray Nelson in the opening credits, but but he takes a pseudonym when he writes the film. So Frank Armitage is John Carpenter, and that name is he'd done it before, writing under pseudonyms, a standard. I'm trying to in The Mouth of Madness, he also used a pseudonym, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, chat. But actually, that itself is a really good reference because this is such a sort of oh gosh, there are so many Carpenterisms in this. Like,
yes,
the adaptation is one, the kind of basic politics, the grr, I hate authority, is in there. The slightly Lovecraftian vibe, where there is another reality under everything. He gets that from Lovecraft, and he puts that into a lot of films, and that is in this as well.
Because Roddy Piper is just like, he's a working class. He's not quite a Snake Plissken, but he's got kind of that kind of calm coolness about him. He's not as quippy, but he's definitely like a stoic character. I know that John Carpenter likes his stoic characters. As you've seen The Thing, as we've seen a little bit in Escape from New York and things like that. He likes a kind of a stoic male hero. One that, you know, is cool because he doesn't talk too much. And I didn't remember how quiet he was in the beginning. I think Roddy Piper actually does a good job of portraying like a downtrodden guy who doesn't like speaking his mind. which is why it's so much. It's not jarring, but it's so interesting when you see him kind of finally buy into the idea that the glasses are showing him reality, and he just goes around and starts offing people. There is an arc there, definitely. He definitely does like get red pilled effectively.
I think it's quite interesting because obviously he's got one. Yeah, he's got perhaps one of the most like iconic one-liners in film. And yeah, you do kind of like forget how sort of quiet he is at the first. The first sort of half an hour. Yeah, absolutely spot on there. Yeah, it's like when Keith David's character like introduces himself, like, you need a place to stay. You know, I can take you. Like openly, like, quite friendly with him, and he just completely like mugs him off.
It doesn't like look at him like he's an idiot. He just kind of looks at him very calmly. It looks like somebody who's just trying to like measure up what's going on and see if people are being strange with him or not.
Quite suspicious of him.
Yeah. He also mentions. Sorry, again.
I was just going to ask, like, what you thought of this particular scene where they kind of, because you talked about the writing, I thought this scene stood out as maybe a slightly weaker bit of writing in that they kind of state their worldviews very flat out, very directly. It's a bit first pass dialogue.
Yeah, I think it's just there for like unambiguity reasons. I think this is an obligatory scene, and I will say we completely forgot to say that the chicken fight happens because he's trying to make the black guy put on the noticing glasses, and he won't.
That's right.
No, I
don't want to notice.
I don't want to notice. No, I don't want to.
There's a video I really want to play, and it starts with the line, "Don't you talk to me, LaShonda." But I want to keep my channel.
Oh dear me! But he has to basically. He has to fight him in this extended chicken fight that goes back and forth for ages to make him see, and eventually he does see and believe him. But it's just so funny. Again, it's almost emblematic of the process of like having to train. Somebody who really doesn't want to be cursed with the knowledge that you have, because he's like, I made it. I'm getting by. I'm being quiet. I'm not making trouble. Because that's his whole thing is I'm not making trouble. I'm gonna get my bit and I'm gonna get through life and I'm not gonna make any trouble.
I got a wife and kid, don't you know?
Yeah, and he just doesn't want to notice. He has to, it's like
Kanye had this problem. They don't want to notice.
It's like somebody and they just they know but they don't know, and it's very kind of, again, it feels like a bit of a nod. If this was made today, it would be far too much, and I think people like watching it because they know this would be far too much today.
It does feel very heavy. It's like the whole thing is quite direct and uncomplicated in its dialogue, but this one really stands out, and it's a very simple position. He's a guy who's like, it's tough, it's dog eat dog. I've got to get ahead, and it feels kind of weird when he says it at the start. He's like, times are just kind of hard, I guess, but this is a land of opportunity, and we'll get our chance.
I believe in America, basically.
Yeah. I had a super chat come in. Patrick Batman for £2, asking about parallels between this and V the miniseries. I would probably have to demur because I have very, very limited knowledge. I think the only thing I know about V is they are reptilian. There was an original, was it late 70s version, and it was later remade.
V's quite different. V's pitched, I'd say They Live is pitched as a fever dream, whereas V is pitched as like a slow kind of conspiracy. It's more like gentler replacement and kind of the creeping nature of it, whereas They Live is more like the fever dream revelation of it, that it's everywhere and it's all at once. So I'd say they're relatively different in how they go about the methods of having it be kind of the aliens are taking over. It's because it is a miniseries, it's a much slower burn.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, worth a watch. I mean, I know it's sort of popular with my parents' generation. I haven't seen myself. That and The Invaders, and I'm afraid it's one I just don't have much experience with. So
I wouldn't recommend it, honestly. It's okay. I wouldn't waste your time with it.
All right, fair enough. Patrick Batman. Sorry, I could not go much deeper on that one. It's a hole in my viewing history. And apparently Robert Englund was in V. Nice. Okay, we're getting some recommendations. I know it's got Robert Englund. I like seeing him.
Oh,
in
Robert
stuff.
Englund, yes.
I like seeing him and stuff.
You share
Gosh,
my love of actor spotting. That's one I always try and do.
Yeah, Scrump, you and I are both of a certain age. Can you get through a film? In fact, TCG as well. We're all of the similar age. Can you get through a film now without saying, "It's that guy"? What was he in?
Oh my god!
No, I really can't. I can't do that anymore.
Yeah, I literally did that when I was when I was watching The Gentleman. The lead actor, I was, oh my god, who is that? I know who that is. What's he in?
And now, because you got the phone, you got to stop and find out, haven't you?
Yep.
You just got to do it. Drives me absolutely mad. I've got to do it. Oh, Dr. Prepper asking, have we covered Society? There is another noticing film. It's that's Brian Yuzna's Society, using about half the latex in America at the time for its rather wonderful effects. I think that one wasn't as well put together, and I remember that dragging a little bit, but the end is quite spectacular, very unforgettable. Either of you two had the joy of watching Society?
I can't say that I have. No.
Okay. I won't ruin it for you. I might spring it on you sometime. It's quite special. It's safer. Society is basically just the rich. Am I right, guys? Whereas They Live, I think, is just a lot unintentionally feistier. In that it's not just the rich, but it's the rich from a very different background, like a thoroughly different species that it's okay to unsubscribe from the Life YouTube channel. You know,
I've just looked up images. It's what I think it is.
Yeah, if you Google image search Society by Brian Yuzna, you're gonna have a bad time. That's a paddling.
Looks fun.
It wasn't.
Yep, that's about it.
It wasn't my favorite, but Yuzna has done some very good work keeping the Lovecraft adaptations coming.
Better than a school canoe. You would have bet that's better.
So one of the things that let's get the messages back on. One of the things Carpenter's getting here with the messaging, these are bad. What do you think he kind of wants us to look at? Was he want? Does Carpenter just want it to go back to neutral? Is that what he's after?
I feel like he's doing like cartoon, like broad strokes politics in the same way that like a George Lucas would do like pulp. It's pulp politics. It's the most generic kind of anti-rebel. It's literally just saying obey. You know, this is your. It's like. It's not insulting because it's so basic, but it is kind of like what a 14-year-old would make in almost like the same way. It's so safe, but it works because it's a B movie. It's a B movie in which you have a cartoon repressive society with a cartoon hero who goes around shooting people. And it works because it is all done, like we both said earlier, in broad strokes, and the politics are done in extremely broad strokes. He's got a big wide brush. He's filling in a wall with it. I think it's deliberate, and I think it really does help the film. It helps it not age. You know, there's certain things that have been picked out now, but you know, in the 90s, it wouldn't have aged as badly, and maybe in future wouldn't have aged as badly either, as those things maybe fade from public consciousness. So
it's fair. Yeah. There's certain things in the broad strokes are just iconic, like the faceless line of troops that look so cool. Like we're always fighting against the man.
Yeah,
right?
It's the man.
That has we've been watching that forever, right? Just the faceless horde of G-men coming down. Well, you know, this was kind of weird one for me though. Watching this, it felt like an inversion of Carpenter, because where's the image for it? It's when they're striking the activist camp, right? And they're having to retreat. It massively reminded me of Prince of Darkness and Assault on Precinct 13. Like Carpenter absolutely loves these sort of slightly siege situations where you've got basically a zombie horde by any other name, right? Except in this case, they're police. in Assault on Precinct 13, they're a comically evil gang.
Like beyond, it's almost jarring out of the film in Assault on Precinct 13 how like needlessly evil but like the gang is very bizarre in that. It's quite surreal how determined they are. A lot of them dying in the process to take over this police station. It's very odd.
It's it was kind of weird to see that flipped, so that the police are now the bad guys coming for you, but it feels like that I've just seen The Matrix. Grr, take down the Matrix kind of vibe of fighting that faceless government force.
Yeah, because he goes around and gives a few people sunglasses, and that's kind of him like going out and red pilling people. It's funny, and then there is a confrontation. There is quite a long and bloody climax to this film, really.
Oh yeah,
because the teleporter scene is kind of breaks it up, but there's two big kind of violent scenes near the end of this.
Yeah, and it's a weird thing of it starts with, I'm just going to try and red pill you. People don't want to put on the noticing glasses. So in the end, it's just like, no, shotgun time. And it's again, the weird politics of this. You try and convince people, but ultimately, what's the Starship Troopers quote? Who's got it to hand?
Oh, God damn it. I don't have it to hand. I used to know this.
Violence is a supreme authority from which all other is derived. How about that? I think that's roughly it.
Thank you, Mr. Rothbard. Very cool.
Always be Ironside posting. Never not be Ironside posting. Yeah, it's that weird, like, hard reality is in there. But I do wonder when we get to that end that Jess Franco, absolutely, he ran out of the gun. If it had enough gum, he'd be okay.
I was revving up for that one because one of the things I was going to talk about is that this is where the kick ass and chew bubblegum, although it's the other way round in They Live. It's chew bubblegum because he says it really awkwardly, and I love how awkwardly he says it because he just says it in quite a stilted way. It's not like Duke Nukem. It's just like, I'm here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of gum. It's not the best.
Did Duke Nukem say that?
No, Duke Nukem. I guess Duke Nukem said, "I'm here to kick ass and chew bubblegum. I'm all out of gum.
Ass and chew bubblegum. And I'm all out of bubblegum."
That's the one, yes.
Oh, good times. Is that the OG Duke Nukem 3D?
Blow it out your ass. Sorry, I've got ventriloquistic harassment. Shout out to people who know what ventriloquistic harassment is out there, because not everybody does these days. I've got balls of steel.
All right, so into the film, because John Carpenter is deciding to be as efficient as possible. Keith David's been killed off screen.
Yeah.
Meg Foster's betrayed. Which, she was always going to. She was kind of interesting though, but I always thought she was so close to power that she was possibly corrupted by it. But anyway, like maybe she was some kind of hybrid because she's got those weird eyes. But anyway, she kills our boy Rowdy Roddy Piper, and then he destroys a thing. We see the big explosion. It's all good. Everyone starts to notice. But I guess I wanted to return this just to talk about that idea of now that. Do you think the film is saying now everyone notices they will rebel?
I think
will this solve it?
I think that's what's implied. The thing is, I don't think it's that heavy. I think it's just the logical conclusion. I think again because it's a cartoon universe, that's what's going to happen. And it runs on cartoon logic. He blows up the mind scrambling like spiral on the satellite dish, and the mind scrambling stops. And I think we can infer from that that the world does change. And I think it is meant to imply that. But
it's a bit Death Star logic, isn't it?
Yeah.
We blew up the Death Star, and now all the other forces, you're done. Go away.
Okay. Oh, we didn't actually just blow up one. We had to blow up two. Now the Ewoks dance. Hooray! The Empire's defeated. But,
exactly. Whereas I think we're in this weird. Well, I don't think we are. I know we are. I mean, you have What's the title of your article, Scrump? Is it "The Normies Are Already Red-Pilled"?
The masses are red-pilled. Evelyn did one, and I've just got one called "Who Are the Normies?"
Yeah,
And it's the whole thing of just like, well, it'd be really bleak ending to this would be basically like a bunch of people just go, yeah, we know it's just kind of like this, and if you don't like it like this, your society has to end because, spoiler alert, all technology in the last 20 years or something came from aliens. But it's not that cynical. I think a much more cynical film would have him do all that, everybody notice, and them still be in charge like the next week, and everyone's just kind of forgotten. And it's just kind of not talked about because these people are in charge and have all the money. And what are you going to do? What are you going to do about it if you do notice that they're aliens? But there's a much darker and far-reaching discussion implied in this one. To quote the prophet Aesop Rock, "Knowing ain't half the battle." That's a bullshit quip written by some asshole. So
we do like quoting rap on this stream. Yeah, I can think of like a couple of other times this has come up. If what's it called? The World's End, the Simon Pegg film. Like in that one, people were very happy to be ruled. They loved it. They couldn't get enough. They were annoyed when when all the tech went away, when the network was removed. There's a memorable internet cartoon with the initials MM, which played out a similar scenario where a great naming occurred to absolutely zero effect.
Hey,
maybe a slightly obscure reference, but
I know what you're talking about.
A lot of them have done this thing and pointed out that it doesn't really lead you anywhere.
Hey guys, did you know that the left are wrong? Dun, dun, dun. No, it is very kind of messaging and about the power of propaganda and about kind of the power of a hidden elite in many ways, and it plays on broad stroke conspiracy theories. So it's impactful in its big broad strokes, but because it is made in broad strokes, it can't really do very much with them. It's not so much a blunt instrument as a spherical one in certain ways, because it is such a touchy subject. Even then, I suppose. But it's this great cultural artifact. It's just this film that got made that has this. It's pretty well paced. It builds up pretty well. There's some cool bits in it, and then it just has like some fried messaging, some really strange and unusual messaging, especially for these days. Just incidentally almost. And it's one of those films, kind of like Fight Club, I'd say in a way, that has aged very well due to its kind of slightly less incisive politics in the time period.
Again, just as you said, the broad strokes really help it, because it's kind of a timeless scenario in a way.
Yeah, it's also not like it feels like anywhere time, anywhere town America as well, because they talk about economic turmoil, but they're not specific about events. They don't talk about who the president is. They don't talk about what year it is really. It incidentally takes place in the 80s, but it could be, any time in the 80s or early 90s, depending on where you are. So it does have this kind of any town America, any time of day, a man walks into town and needs a job. It's very much like that.
The job office will always be useless, and that woman will always work there. It is absolutely timeless.
The job office scene makes me feel it does make you feel real sympathy for him. He does come across as a likable guy, which lets him get away with when he starts blowing away the other. So
straight away, instantly in a bank. Again, even in that scene, that we say it moves quickly, it uses broad strokes, but the way they sort of establish the teleporter device in that, it's so handy.
They actually
so good.
They use it a couple times because a couple of characters disappear after talking to him, which gets them out the scene as well. Like having a teleporter is really efficient for this film. It allows it to be quite snappy when it could get. This film would be awful if it was like 10 minutes longer. If there were 2 like 5-minute scenes that bog the film down, it wouldn't get away with it. I don't think it needs to be that snappy.
Yeah. I mean, the pacing is a weird thing. I was saying to you in our chat that this feels like such an amalgamation of all the John Carpenterisms, And we've already talked about the Lovecraftian worldview, which comes in so many of his films. The anti-authority, he's always anti-authority in this. Rightly or wrongly, he's always got that sort of I just want to do my own thing, make my own choices attitude, which weirdly in this film has him sort of actually putting a religious figure in quite a positive role, which is very unusual for Carpenter. We've got the sort of aesthetics of fighting in the urban corridors, which he's used before. We've referenced that. But then there's also his storytelling. He keeps the story very quick. He likes a slow opening, but he gets that story moving pretty zippily. That's another classic Carpenter trope, is just fast-moving story once it gets going. Big Trouble in Little China really comes to mind. He gets to the end of the story and then he's just sort of done. Like, whoop, there we go.
Yes. Big Trouble in Little China is something I also thought of with you're right, with the pacing of this film. And when he goes to the teleporter, that's quite Big Trouble in Little China, because Big Trouble in Little China is full of little plot convenience events. It's almost like a joke, but they just appear, they just get pushed into different rooms sometimes. It's like, I guess it's the next scene. There's a little bit of that in this.
It was so efficient. And, I say all that because of because of you saying like this film would be terrible if it was 10 minutes longer. Absolutely. I originally was thinking, hang on, this is only like a 93-minute movie at most. Did they put in the really long fight scene, the chicken fight? Is that in there to get them over the 90 minutes? And I thought, no, they had so many opportunities for filler.
Yeah. No, that's
can't you just imagine all the filler lines that they could have had with just someone like debates with someone else in a room, like, oh my gosh, let's just have a 2-person dialogue for 4 minutes of how can you kill them? You don't know. Or he gets to talk with one of them, debate with one of them, and that's 3 minutes. There we go. They had loads of ways they could get this film over the 90-minute mark if they wanted to. And
I like the fight. It's like the center point of the film. When I rewatched it, I thought actually that film would not work that well without that big silly. It is a little bit, we get it, but it's also just it's fun. It's a very fun scene. You just kind of go, it's starting again, but you enjoy it. And the reason I called it a chicken fight was quite endearing, because the original chicken fights do kind of work. The thing people remember the most about Family Guy, anyway.
Yeah, I don't know my Family Guy well, but that's a reference to a recurring bit they did where Peter fights a giant chicken and it just keeps going on.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they just return to that a bunch of times.
Yes,
am I right?
Yeah. There's just episodes where they'll give up and a chicken fight will break out.
Fair play. I think here it helps us know, like, because they trimmed it where they didn't have to trim it. It lets you know that that's in there for character growth, for atmosphere, and just because it's really fun. And Keith David and Roddy just totally carry it off.
It's there to cement in your mind how hard it is to red pill people.
They don't want to see. Ain't gonna happen.
Please.
Maybe you should have given them some statistics.
No, man, I'm on the straight and narrow. I don't want to look at your statistics, man.
Here's a report from Tufton Street.
No. And it does. It just. I was very surprised because like you, I actually thought this film was a lot worse than it was. I thought that I liked this film because of its wild themes. And it's actually also just quite a good, slightly off the wall film. It just works, and I'm quite glad it works. It just works as a film. It does.
Yeah, it's good. It's charming. Dare I say, cozy.
Gay.
And even though it picked up it picked up a spicy reputation in certain corners of the internet for very understandable reasons. I think we don't want to fall into the trap of doing the same very, very broad strokes analysis. you can see that take on the film, but it's obvious to see. You don't need us to point it out. Many similar cases of accidental noticing. Who's that guy who complained about music on the bus? Anyway,
sorry, my items of I cannot stop them from bouncing. They have begun to bounce, and they will not stop bouncing.
no worries. Oh dear, but yes, it's beyond that. It's beyond the fun, spicy reading. It's a cozy action. It's good. It's extremely rewatchable. It grows on you, and I wouldn't say it's up there with, Big Trouble in Little China or Escape from LA. Oh, I always get it wrong. Which one was which is first? Is it LA first or New York first?
It's Escape from New York first.
Thank you. I think I've only seen that one once. So
I don't like Escape from New York. I like it. I like bits of it, but as a film, I actually don't like Escape from New York that much. I find it quite dull.
Interesting. How do you rate Carpenter generally?
I always think I think he's interesting. He always makes very interesting films, which is why I'm such a big John Carpenter fan. I also think in terms of like affects horror, in terms of what The Thing is the best example of a genre. But really, it is. I thought I'd imagined, not thought I imagined it, but it's kind of become a cliche to like that film so much. But it's so, and the effects are so good, and it's paced so well, and the stuff that needs to be ambiguous is ambiguous, and it's very John Carpenter, and it's very good. And I think he's just somebody who's proven himself time and again capable of making a film that is at least good, that is also very interesting and full of its own character. And why he works so well is he's a proper filmmaker in an age where there were, kind of getting into the 80s, not that many proper filmmakers left. And all of his work that is his best work has a lot of his fingerprints on it. It's definitely John Carpenter's work, which is why I always come back to it. I always think that he, as much as he can be, not in like a Hideo Kojima way, but he is something of the not quite as pretentious auteur. He got very frustrated with Hollywood, but he was never somebody who like sniffed his own farts. A lot of the time, he was always just happy to be making films, and that comes through a lot in his work, I think.
Oh, definitely. And the frustration was real. Like, people wanted to pigeonhole him, and just he wanted to do a variety in his own style, and he's got a quite broad range. Whereas, someone like Wes Craven absolutely did get trapped, and really kind of couldn't break out of the horror sphere, no matter how much he wanted to do. Alas. Yeah, I mean, there's a certain kind of jankiness to some of the Carpenter. I'm thinking particularly of the pro-life episode he did of Masters of Horror.
I've never seen that, to be honest with you.
It was terrible. It was absolutely awful.
I mean, we also don't talk about Ghosts of Mars, which is new metal. I think I mentioned it last time I was on here.
Yeah.
But new metal Carpenter, Ghost of Mars.
No. Hey, look, everyone's allowed a swing and a miss or two, eh? But yeah, I think that's a fair summary. Interesting guy. TCG, Carpenter thoughts overall? We've seen a few now from him.
We've seen a few, yeah. I mean, I felt like I feel like he's quite consistent. I think this is another good example of a good Carpenter film. I was just sort of looking up some of the budgets because you guys mentioned it earlier. I think this was like made on a $3 million budget. I think it was, and yeah, I mean, it made 13 back, which sounds like a success for me in that regard. But yeah, I listen. You guys know what I'm like. I'm not overtly familiar with like producers, directors, and sort of like the history of their films and whatnot. But from what we have seen from Carpenter, he strikes me as very consistent. Of course, like you say, he can have the odd flop or or miss every now and again. But I feel like from what we've covered on the channel, it's been very consistent. It's been very consistent and consistently good.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say when you're watching a Carpenter film.
Mm.
Yes, you
Which-
very much do.
Yeah, it has very similar beats, doesn't it? Yeah.
Totally. He doesn't do generic, which I really like. Well, we said we wanted to keep it efficient this stream. I think we've done pretty well. Was there anything else you were sort of dying to say about They Live?
Not really. I'd actually just recommend people watch it. I was pleasantly surprised by how good it was.
Yeah, I hadn't hugely enjoyed it, but the rewatch, I liked it a lot more. I liked Roddy Piper's character a lot more, and it is zippy. So yeah, and there's lots of like sly humor in there. The design is really nice. Really appreciate the set design. Like when he's in the supermarket, the effort to put the alien messages on every item in there. Absolutely
There must
delicious.
have been a very annoyed prop department in some of this. That's what I thought as well. That's my last thought, I guess.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but the genius is just printed out this text on a white background. You can push that out nice and quick. Good design choice. How about you, TCG? Any? We'll get our scores in after this. So we'll do the classic out of 12 burgers score system, and chat if you want to get your own scores in, because I think we are wrapping up. So start those scores coming in, chat. TCG, closing thoughts and scores.
Yeah, I felt like I felt like the ambiguity of this film helped it quite a lot, and I think that's probably why it stayed so relevant. It's not tied to a political, it's not tied to a specific sort of political message of a specific time. It kind of has that sort of one size fits all, which I think is why it kind of sort of strikes quite relevant today, even with more recent events. I can't believe you guys mentioned the tunnels, man. I didn't even think of it until tonight.
Yeah, that got mentioned.
That was funny. That was funny. But yeah, I mean, I actually watched this for the first time not too long ago, admittedly, and I really enjoyed it more than I thought I would. And so yeah, getting the chance to do a rewatch and cover it on here was quite the pleasure. Solid 10 out of burgers. Some lovely effects, I think. The ketchup was flowing very nicely, although when you put some sunglasses on, it does look a bit barbecue saucy.
Ooh wee. Nice. I think for me, it wouldn't be my go-to, but gosh darn it, there's cheesy plenty on this to make it very satisfying.
I did feel quite compelled to buy the burgers, though, I will say. I don't know why, but I felt very compelled. It was
Nice.
Well,
yeah.
Strong
9 with lots of cheese, and you know what? It's a kind of burger I'd order from again many times, I think. Scrump, can we get a score from you?
I'm afraid I must match you and say that this is definitely in my book a solid 9 out of 12 burgers. And I was just going to say that is definitely a burger I would eat. I think 9 seems to be the consensus anyway. It's a good film. It's not, and I do have quite high standards, and I do have a lot of personal affection for this film, which pushes it up in my estimations. But I think it is definitely a solid 9 burgers out of 12.
Very respectable indeed. And I'm chuffed you asked for this one.
Oh, yes. I don't know. Are we going to do an outro now, or I don't know what happens at the end of these? Oh no.
Oh, don't worry about it. It's nice and simple. We've given our closing thoughts and scores. We'll just announce the horror homework coming up. So if all goes well, then next week we've got Harry from Lotus Eaters coming on. He's doing Christine. Gosh, that phrasing.
Phrasing.
That phrasing. Oh no.
What's Tash got to say about this?
Oh,
hang on. Patrick Batman's been very generous again, dropping £5. Thank you so much. And yeah, you know what? You can shill. You can drop a nice cheeky shill. There you go. There's a IG page for Patrick Batman there called Magnus Powerhouse. Check that out if you are on Instagram. And what was I saying? Yes, so Harry should be coming in to cover John Carpenter's Christine. He's never seen it. He originally wanted. I asked friends what they wanted to cover, and he got in straight away saying, "In the Mouth of Madness." Obviously, I had to break the news. We've covered it already, and whilst I was tempted, I tried to ease him onto another choice. I thought he'd go for Halloween. He went for Christine.
Ah, it's an interesting choice.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to say, I didn't like Christine when I first saw it, but then I didn't really go for They Live when I first saw it. So let's see how it is on the rewatch. I've got my doubts. I mean, it's a Stephen King one, so there are certain inherent issues you get with Stephen King's story. We'll see how present they are in Christine. And after that, Stelios, also from Lotus Eaters, asked in office if he could do Prince of Darkness. He actually sent me a list of ones he wanted to. Do you say dibs? Call dibs on?
Dibs, yes.
Yeah, he called dibs on quite a few beauties. He's a canny operator, so he'll be on the week after.
He has just called the dibs. Well, I'll finish off in my radio voice then and say thank you for listening to the Proper Horror Show stream here. It has been a pleasure having you here, exploring They Live and the boring history of some actor.
I'd love to get you recording that.
Brilliant.
Oh, there you go. Well, you've had the horror homework, so get your Christine watching. If you want to get brownie points, get Prince of Darkness on after that. That's what we're covering. All going well, we'll be back with a bit more Vincent Price next week, or maybe a quiz show if Harry says absolutely no to Vincent Price. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, massive thanks, Scrump and TCG. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Pleasure as always. Thank you.
Be good being here.
Yeah, and links to both of their channels are in the description, of course. You guys have been generous tonight. It's much appreciated. Again, I'll slightly hint that there's a good month to join as a member if you want a very early access to a considerable amount of content. And I will leave it there. Thank you all so much, guys. You've got your horror homework, and I'll be signing off. Thanks, y'all. Cheers.
Watch The Gentleman.
Yes.